Good morning everybody, I'm Nathan, I'm a landscape photographer from Brisbane, and this is Andy. This morning we are in the Scenic Rim. We're in an area sort of, I think we're probably near Maroon or Burnett Creek, just out of Boonah, and we're trying to catch sunrise. Honestly, the sun is about to come up and there's no light, so I'm not sure what we're going to get, but hey, you've got to be in it to win it. We've got a nice scene in front of us here, looking out towards the mountains. Pretty sure it's Mount Barney, and it's shrouded in cloud at the moment. So we've got this really nice scene here, but unfortunately the sun is going to come up right behind there, or close enough too, and there's just too much heavy cloud. So I'm shooting with the GFX 50R, and I've currently got my 150mm f4 Hasselblad lens on there, and I'm shooting in a portrait orientation because I thought about maybe stitching a panorama together. But to be honest, we're not getting much light here, so probably won't be very nice. Currently at f11 and 2-second exposure time. Maybe I'll do a quick panorama anyway. So I've just taken about 5 or 6 photos which I'll stitch together a panorama. Crop that down to a 6x17 and we'll see how that goes. I did bring my 6x17 film camera with me, but I don't think I'm going to use it this morning. It's a bit of a special camera and this morning's light is not that special. So here's the back of my camera screen, just showing you the composition I've got. I've got this sort of house here with the mountain back here and that nice field in the foreground. Just still gonna hold out hope for a bit of light as the clouds move on and off of the mountain. Oh, a bit of colour starting to hit those clouds. So what I like about this composition is we've got this mountain here, which I'm fairly certain is Mount Barney, and we've got the top of it shrouded in cloud there, which is moving quite quickly. We've got this nice foreground here. Well, we've got this foreground here, and it's a little bit more interesting than the other foreground we found a bit further along the road earlier, because that was just a plain green field, whereas here we've got some changes in color in the field. We've got a little bit more brown, we've got some undulating hills and some trees which just make it a little bit more interesting. We've got layers in our foreground which just make it a little bit more interesting. At first I was a bit unsure of that house in the foothills of the mountain, but as Andy mentioned to me earlier, it does add a bit of scale, and now we seem to actually be getting a little bit of color in the higher clouds above the mountain. So let me just see if I can adjust my composition to get some of that in. So I've now changed to the 60mm lens, which on this camera gives a similar field of view to probably about a 45 to 50mm on a full frame, I suppose. And it's completely changed the composition. So it's probably a little bit too wide, but I can always crop in. I've got enough resolution that I can crop in a bit. So the dynamic range has changed quite a lot though now, because we've got the deep shadows of this side of the mountain and the foreground, but we've also got the really bright sky now that the clouds have passed a little bit. So it's a bit of a challenge with dynamic range. So I'm going to do one shot at 1/50th of a second here to not lose the colour in the sky. Most of the colour's kicking off to the right of the mountain. So I've just loaded up the Hasselblad with Portra 160 very quickly, and I just need to take this shot now. I'm going f11 1/8 of a second. I've got focus to infinity, dark slide out, camera wound on and mirror up, because there's just a little bit of color actually over the mountain now. Now that I've got that rush out of the way, so I've got Portra 160 loaded, and I don't usually like Portra that much, but I just thought it might be worth loading it up and giving it another try for sunrise. I find it sometimes a bit cool. I'm just going to head up here. I've got some really cracking light on this hill. So I've now just got this hill over here with some light on it, which I'm just going to quickly shoot now. Okay, so I got the 150mm back on. I'm just going to adjust my composition a little bit. I quite like this. So this is the composition now. So I've just moved a bit to the right of where we were initially, and just looking out towards the mountain. We've got the sun rising right behind it, but we've still got that house that's just above. I've managed to place it in a slightly different spot, and I don't mind it. The light is starting to get a bit more contrasty now, as it's been up for half an hour or so, but it's still pretty nice. It's still really bloody nice. I was pessimistic at the start of this video, and my attitude has changed. We've had a lovely morning. Thanks for joining us.
Put that strip of light on that
just on this hill right here. I think that's a photo. So we've finished up our shooting for the morning. We've headed into Boonah and had some breakfast, and now it's about time to head home. I'm sorry I sort of stopped recording before. It's a couple of things happened. The light was changing quite quickly, but also I had a bit of a technical issue. I've got a lens that seems to be jammed on the Hasselblad. I can't get my 150mm off, so I have to have a bit of a play with that at home. I did really want to use the 150mm after that, but I couldn't. So we just went for a little bit more of a drive, found another spot which didn't have amazing photos but had a nice view of the lake, and then we headed into town. I'll show you a couple of those photos that we took after I stopped filming now. So now it's time to head home. Thank you so much for joining Andy and myself this morning. We had a really great time out here. Our sunrise ended up a bit better than expected. Please leave any comments you may have below. I do like to read your comments and reply. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. So thanks so much for watching. Please give it a thumbs up if you like it, and maybe think about subscribing. And I can't wait to see you again soon.